Elon Musk has announced that he will indeed reverse President Trump's Twitter ban, calling it morally wrong and flat out stupid. We're going to hear for ourselves what Musk had to say. We're going to see how studies actually corroborate his decision to reverse the ban. And stick with me at the very end of this video when I'll reveal precisely why the worst nightmares of woke leftists are being realized right before their very eyes. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, I am your daily fake news antidote. So come on into your Patriot Professor's Den, where I help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy, turbulent, but increasingly anti-woke times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we begin, gang, you got to really sympathize with woke leftists out there. They haven't been having a very good few weeks, to say the least. And clearly being woke, they're having a hard time sleeping at night, watching their woke world fall apart right before their very eyes. So don't you think that the best way we can all empathize with them is to make sure that we get a good night's sleep on their behalf? And that is where the one and only MyPillow comes in. And the best part is that you can now get the best sleep of your life with their lowest prices in the history of MyPillow with code Turley. So for example, usually the classic MyPillow is $69.98, but now if you use my code Turley, you can get your own classic MyPillow for just $19.98, and that applies to over 200 products in their catalog. So don't wait, click on that link below, get one for yourself, get another for the Patriot in your life. Let's support Mike Lindell and MyPillow, and let's get the best sleep of our lives, even as woke liberals lose theirs. Okay, let's dive right in here again. I just got to say, you really have to wonder what it must be like to be a woke leftist of late. I mean, think about it. Kyle Rittenhouse is running around free as a bird. Disney and Netflix are collapsing. Joe Biden's approval numbers are in a perpetual free fall. Patriot parents are storming school boards, just like what we saw throughout the state of Texas over the last weekend. Hunter Biden's being investigated. The Durham indictments are flying. Roe v. Wade. Literally the unthinkable is happening. Roe v. Wade is in the process of being struck down by the Supreme Court. And then on top of all that, the most woke global social media platform, Twitter, has just been stolen by Elon Musk. I mean, it's got to be a difficult time for sure if you're a woke leftist. And it just got worse. Elon Musk has officially announced that he will indeed reverse Twitter's permanent ban against President Trump. And what I want to do here is I want to look at precisely what Musk said in making the announcement, because I think it shows the profound depths in his understanding of what's really going on here. And I want to draw that out for you because I think you'll find it absolutely fascinating. So here's what Elon Musk himself had to say.
Are you planning to let Donald Trump back on?
Well, I think there's a general question of should Twitter have permanent bans? I've talked with Jack Dorsey about this, and he and I are of the same mind, which is that permanent bans should be extremely rare and really reserved for people where they're trying to, for accounts that are bots or spam scam accounts, where there's just no legitimacy to the account at all. I do think that it was not correct to ban Donald Trump. I think that was a mistake because it alienated a large part of the country and did not ultimately result in Donald Trump not having a voice. He is now going to be on Truth Social, as will a large part of the right in the United States. And so I think this could end up being, frankly, worse than having a single forum where everyone can debate. I guess the answer is that I would reverse the perma ban. Obviously, I don't own Twitter yet, so this is not like a thing that will definitely happen, because what if I don't own Twitter? But my opinion, and Jack Dorsey, I want to be clear, shares this opinion, is that we should not have perma bans. Now that doesn't mean that somebody gets to say whatever they want to say. If they say something that is illegal or otherwise, just destructive to the world, then that there should be perhaps a timeout, a temporary suspension, or that particular tweet should be made invisible or have very limited traction. But I think permabans just fundamentally undermine trust in Twitter as a town square where everyone can voice their opinion. It was I think it was a morally bad decision, to be clear, and foolish in the extreme.
Even after he egged on the crowd who went to the US Capitol, some of them carrying nooses, you still think it was a mistake to remove him?
I think if there are tweets that are wrong, they should, and bad, those should be either deleted or made invisible. And a suspension, a temporary suspension is appropriate, but not a permanent ban.
So if the deal completes, he might potentially come back on, but with the understanding that if he does something similar again, he'll be back in the sin bin.
He has publicly stated that he will not be coming back to Twitter, and that he will only be on Truth Social. And this is the point that I'm trying to make, which is perhaps not getting across, is that banning Trump from Twitter didn't end Trump's voice. It will amplify it among the right. And this is why it is morally wrong and flat out stupid.
All right, we need to stop there, because that's a revelation in and of itself. To me, this is huge, okay? This mention of Jack Dorsey now reversing himself, right? We got a whole lot of reversals going on here. Did you notice that? Right? This is a trend. The trend that we're seeing more and more is that what was once thought written in woke stone is now being dismantled. Whether it's Disney's special legal status or Roe v. Wade or these permanent Twitter bans, there is a very clear dismantling going on here, which suggests to me that the woke world is collapsing. And Jack Dorsey recognizes it. He's smart enough, he's attuned enough to cultural trends to recognize that the days of wokeism are over. Now, of course, that means that Dorsey has no soul. He'll shill for whatever's the trend of the day. But the good news is that this reversal by Dorsey is evidence of a larger trend, which is that wokeism is waning. All right, back to Elon.
I do think that it was not correct to ban Donald Trump. I think that was a mistake, because it alienated a large part of the country and did not ultimately result in Donald Trump not having a voice. He is now going to be on Truth Social, as will a large part of the right in the United States, and so I think this could end up being, frankly, worse than having a single forum where everyone can debate. I guess the answer is that I would reverse the perma ban. Obviously, I don't own Twitter yet, so this is not like a thing that will definitely happen, because what if I don't own Twitter? But my opinion, and Jack Dorsey, I want to be clear, shares this opinion, is that we should not have perma bans. Now that doesn't mean that somebody gets to say whatever they want to say. If they say something that is illegal or otherwise, just destructive to the world, then that there should be perhaps a timeout, a temporary suspension, or that particular tweet should be made invisible or have very limited traction. But I think perma bans just fundamentally undermine trust in Twitter as a town square where everyone can voice their opinion. It was I think it was a morally bad decision, to be clear, and foolish in the extreme.
Even after he egged on the crowd who went to the US Capitol, some of them carrying nooses, you still think it was a mistake to remove him?
I think if there are tweets that are wrong, they should, and bad, those should be either deleted or made invisible. And a suspension, a temporary suspension is appropriate, but not a permanent ban.
So if the deal completes, he might potentially come back on, but with the understanding that if he does something similar again, he'll be back in the sin bin.
He has publicly stated that he will not be coming back to Twitter, and that he will only be on Truth Social. And this is the point that I'm trying to make, which is perhaps not getting across, is that banning Trump from Twitter didn't end Trump's voice. It will amplify it among the right. And this is why it is morally wrong and flat out stupid.
Now, leaving aside that morally repugnant reporter who could actually care less about the truth of what Trump actually said or did regarding January 6th, I mean, he's just a mind-numbingly he's just repeating talking points fed to him by a bunch of left-wing activists so he can get promoted in his job. Leaving that aside, what Musk just said there is absolutely right, and we've actually got studies that back that up. All right. There was a study by University of Chicago law professor Cass R. Sunstein entitled The Law of Group Polarization, which drew extensively from recent social psychology literature. And what he did is he explained how the process of group discussion radically affects that discussion, depending on if that discussion happens in the context of a vast range of opinions versus that discussion happens in an echo chamber. It's a very, very fascinating study. And what Sunstein found was that discussions that took place in ideologically diverse circles, where multiple perspectives and competing viewpoints were considered, he found that people actually consider different opinions. They realized some of the shortcomings of their own views. They recognized where their views were strong, where they had merit, but where they didn't, where alternative explanations actually offered better explanations. And as a result, whatever opinion a person formed at the end of those deliberations, whatever it was a meta opinion. It's an opinion that takes into consideration the wide, diverse options and in effect picks the best one. That's generally what happens when you have a discussion with a broad range of opinion. It provides a moderating influence where one tends to avoid extremes. However, when you have group discussions in an echo chamber devoid of any contrasting perspectives, like CNN or MSNBC or the legacy media in general, Sunstein found that the members of such discussions tend to be far more extreme in their views. Interestingly, they're far more prone to wanting alternative viewpoints silenced, like we see with woke cancel culture. And they developed something that we've talked about on this channel often. They developed something that's technically referred to as radical perspectivism, which is something that the woke left suffers from in spades. It's a fancy schmancy word, saying that the woke left doesn't allow any legitimate dissent from its political and cultural viewpoints, right? You're not allowed an alternative point of view from that of the woke left. And what Sunstein's study argues is that this radical perspectivism comes from discussions limited to echo chambers, where only your viewpoint is allowed and amplified. So Musk is absolutely right here. His concern is that by excluding people from the global public square, we're not actually silencing them. All we're doing in the end is we're actually cultivating radical perspectivism. We are, however, inadvertently fostering extremism. Now, obviously, I don't believe that when it comes to President Trump. He's constantly exposed to different opinions and perspectives, for sure. That's what makes him such a great debater, right? But it certainly accounts for wokeism in particular becoming so extreme. In being so determined to cancel everyone else, wokeism in effect only guarantees its own radicalism. And the more radical it gets, the more turned off virtually everyone else gets, even those in the political left like Bill Maher and Piers Morgan. Moreover, I think the rationale that we just heard should settle the debate as to whether people like Alex Jones are going to be brought back on the platform. I mean, you just heard it, right? Permanent bans are no longer a part of Twitter. Permanent bans are no longer going to be used to weaponize speech on the world's largest global conversation platform. Those days are over. Once Musk assumes control of Twitter, we can expect everyone banned to be brought back. And given the massive surge in Twitter interest, we can expect those accounts to replenish the millions of followers they lost in mere hours. It will certainly be a stunning reversal of the years of censorship and ideological oppression that have until now governed that social media platform. And then the question is, if Musk proves that this free speech model really is a bona fide cash cow, if he shows the world that free speech can earn you billions, well, then the question is, how long before corporate boards begin firing every single woke member? I mean, this is true for Disney. This is true for Netflix, for the NBA, for the NFL, Hollywood. When promoting conservative values obviously makes you rich, all the while getting woke so obviously makes you broke, the question then becomes, how long before the laws of economics kick in? Wokeism is an unsustainable business model, especially when contrasted with such an exciting and flourishing business model as the championing of free speech. So this reversal of Trump's Twitter ban, I think, is really the first domino to fall in all of this. I think we can begin to see the oppressive era of wokeism begin to fall as a whole. And I can think of few things far more glorious than that. Now, before we go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video on sleepwalking Biden absolutely collapsing in the polls. You're going to absolutely love it and not want to miss it. Make sure to click on that link, and I will see you over there. God bless.